Hello. Is it psychologically impossible to stay in the present moment? I had someone who was very, very well educated, a PhD level, and it sounded like in psychology, present this as a truth. And it was such a relief at first because we all struggle to stay in the present moment. But then I remembered that I am a mountain biker, and when I'm mountain biking, I am very, very much so in the present moment. And then that got me thinking. I guess it takes me the risk of me falling off a mountain to stay in the present moment, but that's a whole nother idea. And I dug in just a little bit for some clarity. So apparently we have the default mode network, and this is what makes it difficult for us to stay in the present moment. The default mode network is to keep us safe. So when we're not focusing intently on a task, this network apparently tends to drift into the past or into the future. It looks at memories or it starts to create with imagination. And when I think about the present moment, I think of a quote by RuPaul because I really love this quote. This quote is about anxiety. And the quote is, if you have a foot in the past and a foot in the future, you're pissing on the present moment. Now, this is Sovereign Rain. We typically focus on childhood trauma and how to make different spiritual knowledge and modern science work for healing all of that. So, what does this really mean? If we look at anxiety first, this is a really common emotion that people are trying to get rid of. So, this is a long-term vision of anxiety. There's short-term goals that I'll have to post somewhere else. When I post those exercises, my account got flagged and blocked. So, anyway, the quote, one foot in the past, one foot in the future, you're pissing on the present moment. This is anxiety in the present moment. If you have a painful past, you are most likely creating an undesirable future. So this starts to make sense. Your future is feeding off your past. We struggle to stay in the present moment. So it's hard to cultivate anything that is a really desirable future. So, what do we do with all of that? And this is why I actually founded Sovereign Reign and why I've stepped into a whole nother level of spirituality and mysticism and exploring metaphysics. Because in my perspective, childhood abuse is a sacred crime. That is something that you can never get back, this childhood, a pleasant childhood. And if you don't start to learn tools, it affects your future and what you're capable of creating. It poisons your imagination and it can make life really, really miserable. So, when we start to look at how do we use a really, really painful past to empower and benefit us? And where I've settled in on this is that you need to create a different perspective. You need to learn a grieving process, but that perspective is going to come from new knowledge, whether that's spirituality or otherwise. You need to cultivate new knowledge from modern science, from metaphysics, from spirituality so that you can start to get curious about how all of this pain can be looked at from a different way, how you can grieve those really, really painful pieces that were extreme injustice and start to let those go, let them sit there, and take the wisdom forward with you. So when we look back at the past, what you really want is like this beautification filter. You're going to use an alternate perspective to get there. You're going to learn new knowledge to get there, and you're going to create your own filter of what is allowed to come forward. The rest, the truly painful stuff, you're just going to honor and acknowledge how really, really bad that was. And we're going to leave it there. But then we're also going to honor and acknowledge those pieces that were really beautiful out that. You're going to extract the knowledge and allow that through this beautification process to come forward as your new wisdom, right? This is your new spiritual wisdom. That's the language I've come up with anyway. So what this really requires is that in this present moment, all you really need is to get curious about how you can look at that past different and how it can work for you. What tools are available to me? Who has done this before? Success leaves clues. But now, as we're beautifying that past and pulling only the pieces that serve us forward, honoring the others and letting them die off, let it grieving that it was that bad, Then you can look forward to the future. Now, the thing about the future is you want this future to be desirable. You want this to be so, so desirable because you want it to be something you enjoy thinking about and something you focus a lot of attention on because what we feed our attention grows. And you want this future to be so, so big that it's like the size of Jupiter or the sun, whatever, pick your planet. But we want it to be so, so big because we want it to pull us into it. You want it to be the size of Jupiter or the sun because you want it to have this gravitational pull that it's pulling you forward. You're not just sitting in the present moment with this really pretty past now, but you're cultivating this really desirable, huge future that all of this past is now serving. So in your imagination, you could have a beautification filter as well that now has just things you never dreamt of before in that line. But to get to our future, we're going to use our imagination. And now this beautiful, empowering past, those pieces we've pulled forward, is going to feed this really, really big, beautiful, beautiful future. So I thought this was really cool here at the end of the week and how this all came together as our Oracle card pull for the week was fairy daffodil or dandelions or something. But anyway, the card was new beginnings. So when we look at how to create a new beginning and when you've had a really painful past that's super unfair, it's spiritual injustice. How do you create a really, really desirable future? So I thought this was a really cool scenario where we have some new perspective from psychology. We have a little bit of information from neuroscience. We have some spiritual perspective of just how we can create this. You pull in a little bit of astrophysics even to say, make that future the size of Jupiter so that it pulls you toward it. And where we started a couple days ago was with brave action. And so when we're in childhood abuse and you look around and say, this isn't where I'm staying, I'm going to go somewhere new. That took a lot of brave action every day to get up. And we talked about how you needed a long-term vision, something that you believed in, and you fed that belief every day. But you did that because those brave actions that you had to take every day, they feed off of confidence, and that confidence is in your long-term vision. Your long-term vision is where you put your faith. So your beliefs drive your thoughts, drive your actions. It kind of comes full circle, of course, like everything does, right? But in this way, I think we've got a pretty good framework to work with on how to stay curious in the present moment, to start loosening up a little bit of these boundaries that we had to install to keep us safe, and start cultivating a different level of knowledge, creating that new perspective, putting a beautification filter on that past and what's allowed to come forward and serve us. So I hope this helps. I thought it was a really cool idea, and I think there's some other places to take this. But this is really back to RuPaul as well, the way that we get rid of anxiety for good. When we're only allowing that beautiful past and those strengthening aspects of the past to come forward with us, we know how to calmly talk about the painful parts. We're not creating this worrisome future anymore. We're not creating that undesirable future. You're creating a future that's super desirable. You're putting so much thought and attention into it that it's huge and enormous, that it's creating this like metaphysical thought planet the size of Jupiter or the sun, and it gets its own gravitational pull that can warp time and space, and it's going to pull you forward to it. So, if you like more thought experiments like this, if this information served you, this is Sovereign Rain. This is why I started the business, and my name is Lindsay. I did survive some pretty serious childhood abuse. I was pretty successful, had to navigate some corporate corruption, and now this is my new vision. This is Sovereign Reign. The vision is that you can be more successful with love, support, and care, and without the suffering. We are going to figure out how to be successful without suffering. So I hope this served you, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks. One more thing I forgot. You can also join my email list, the Agora. That's where you can learn about offerings, but as well as links, private links to live sessions. So I hope to do some of this live because there are tools and processes that are really easy that we can do in a couple minutes, 20 minutes, and show people how to use this so you can start creating and cultivating the higher perspective and your own beautification filter. The email list is the Agora. You can sign up at sovereignrain.com. Thanks.